Can you even afford to eat here? My wife's brother sneered across the table, the kind of smirk that made me want to disappear into my chair. I felt my jaw tighten, my grip on the menu becoming almost painful. He always had this need to belittle, to flaunt his sense of superiority, like it was a coat everyone had to admire. My wife shot him a sharp glance, but didn't intervene. She had learned long ago that some battles weren't worth fighting. The waiter appeared then, gliding through the space between tables with practiced ease. He stopped at our table and smiled warmly. "Welcome back, Mr. Jason. Would you like your usual table?" A stunned silence fell. My wife's mother choked on her wine, her eyes widening, and her sisters nearly spattered their own. The air shifted, thick with confusion, and a hint of admiration I hadn't expected. I could see the calculations running through their minds, the life they assumed I led versus the life they now glimpsed. I cleared my throat. "Yes, that would be wonderful," I said, my voice steady even though my heart pounded. My wife's brother scoffed, leaning back in his chair, as if he'd just witnessed some small miracle. "What, do you own this place now?" he asked, though the laughter in his tone didn't mask the disbelief. I let a slow smile curve my lips. "Something like that," I said, savoring the moment, letting the surprise linger. As the waiter led us to our familiar corner table, I noticed the subtle glances from nearby diners. The kind of glances that read, "He's important, but you wouldn't know it at first." My wife's hand brushed mine under the table, a quiet squeeze that said, "I knew this day would come." The evening unfolded with laughter that felt genuine, stories exchanged over glasses of wine, and the unspoken acknowledgement of status silently acknowledged. Yet beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, one I hadn't anticipated. Later, after the plates were cleared and dessert arrived, I saw in her eyes suspicion. My wife had always been intuitive, capable of reading the subtlest changes in tone, posture, and expression. "Jason," she said quietly, leaning in, How? How did you manage all of this?" I hesitated, the truth poised on the edge of my lips. "It's been complicated," I admitted, the words tasting like ash. There were deals, risks, choices. Not all of them clean. Her gaze sharpened. Choices like, I want to tell her the truth, the real truth about the nights I spent in shadows, the compromises I made, the lines I crossed to secure the life she now enjoyed. But the moment felt fragile, the balance between admiration and doubt so thin it could shatter with one wrong word. Instead, I said, "Let's just enjoy tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk." But she wasn't satisfied. The way she looked at me, I realized, was the way someone looks at a stranger they used to know intimately, part love, part wariness. Later, when we returned home, the tension became unbearable. She confronted me in the quiet of our living room, her voice low but cutting. "Jason, are you telling me you've been cheating?" "Not on me, on everyone." I froze. The word cheating echoed heavy and damning, not in the sense she feared, but in ways that were worse. In business, in trust and loyalty, I had bent rules, blurred lines, hidden truths. "I did what I had to," I said finally. "I made choices to protect us, to build us a life where we wouldn't have to answer to people like them." She sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. "I don't know if I can admire you or hate you," she whispered. And in that moment, I understood the cost of my ambition. Wealth, recognition, even the whispered awe of strangers, all came with a price. A price paid in secrets, in moral compromises, and in the trembling tension between pride and fear. Days passed, and the incident at the restaurant became a legend in our circles. Friends, acquaintances, even distant family spoke in hushed tones. But behind closed doors, the weight of my actions lingered. Every glance from my wife, every question left unanswered, reminded me that I had navigated a dangerous path, and that the life I had fought so hard to secure was as fragile as glass. Yet, even amidst the guilt and the tension, a strange thrill remained. The thrill of success, of defying expectations, of proving that the world underestimated me. The thrill that whispered, "You did it, Jason. You cheated the odds and everyone else, but you survived." And so, as we moved forward, the secret became part of our rhythm. We laughed, we loved, and we occasionally trembled at the edges of truth. The cheating wasn't what people imagined. It was a labyrinth of choices and risks, and only we could navigate it. I looked at her one night as she rested her head on my shoulder, and I thought, perhaps some things, no matter how ethically gray, are worth the cost, because the moment we had, here and now, was ours alone, and the rest, the judgments, the mockery, the whispers, could not touch us. Yet I knew, deep down, that one day, the reckoning would come, and when it did, it would be far more complicated than a single sneer across a restaurant table.